bits and pieces, you just don't notice it.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory, and today is Tuesday, November the 10th, 2015, and I have the great honor of welcoming back Miss Daisy Luther. She is the Organic Prepper, and you can find all of her work at theorganicprepper.ca. How are you today, Miss Daisy?
Hi, I'm great. How are you doing, Rory?
I'm doing all right, and we have a great show for you guys, so let's hit it. Are you familiar with Dave Ramsey's?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
his financial piece?
Yep.
And if you've ever gone through the discipline of writing everything down that you spend money on, which I have, it is incredible the volume of waste that comes out of your wallet. It is just it's mind-boggling.
It is. It is. I keep track of my spending still.
Really? You write everything down?
Pretty much, yeah. It's really easy to let things get out of hand.
Yes.
And some people find it easier to let things get out of hand when they use a debit card. So I usually use cash.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because that's something that my wife and I have just gone back to. When we first started hanging out, she didn't have a debit card. She didn't use one, and this was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. This was 8 years ago. 8 years later, it's like we got to get rid of these debit cards. Coming from me, because the sting of pulling cash out of your wallet, you really notice it.
Yep. Though, it can kind of go both ways. Some people have better luck using a debit card because that helps them keep track of their spending because it's all right there on their statement. It's weird. It can kind of go either way.
My thing with the debit cards is twofold. Is A, you don't have the anonymity of your purchases, which is becoming more and more of an issue, as you well know.
Definitely.
With the ever encroaching police state that we find ourselves in, and then you have, like I said, when you pull a $50 bill out of your wallet, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, there's $50 that
exactly
I no longer have.
Yeah, and once you break a large bill, it's history.
Yes, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. But food as wealth preservation. You wrote 2 articles. One was published back in September. And it's 12 ways to save money with reusable stuff in a disposable world.
Yes.
And help us to understand, Daisy, how this is going to preserve our wealth, if you will.
Well, there are a lot of things that we get at the store every week or every month, however often you shop, that we get it for the sole purpose of throwing it away. So we spend, $20, $50, $100 every month on things that we're purchasing just to throw in the trash. Now, I am not so hardcore that I use the family cloth for toilet paper. I know that some people do. We're not there yet. But things like coffee filters and paper towels and things like that, for a very small investment, basically the price that you would pay in a month for the throwaway kind, you can get the reusable kind and use it for a year or 10 years or even longer. So, for example, we have one of those little mesh baskets that goes in our coffee maker, and we use that instead of coffee filters. You have to rinse it out. You dump out your grounds like you normally would, and then you rinse out the little mesh thing, and you put it back in, and you fill it back up. Now, it costs less than $10. If you compare that to the disposable coffee filters, I am thinking that pays for itself in about 3 months if you're as hardcore on coffee as we are, maybe a little bit longer. But I just like the fact that I'm not throwing all of that stuff away, and that I could continue to use this coffee maker with this little mesh container for the next 10 years. Coffee maker doesn't go kaput. So, I really like that. Now, paper towels, I use those really absorbent bar mop towels
Okay.
in place of paper towels. Like I said, they're super absorbent. Throw them in the wash with some bleach and just reuse them. So you can get a package of those, and they're maybe $10 on Amazon. And you can soak up messes for months. Now, if you have been to the store recently and bought some high quality paper towels, a 6-pack or a 12-pack or something like that, it costs as much or more as your little package of bar mop towels. And you're going to have to go back the following month and buy even more. I do keep disposable things on hand for emergencies, when I might not be able to run my washing machine, but they are kind of shoved at the back of the closet. For day-to-day use, I focus on reusable items. It's good for the environment if you're into that. Lots of people are. Some people think that's silly. So that's a bonus if you're into it. And it takes up less space. Paper towels take up a tremendous amount of space. If you wanted to stockpile a year's worth of paper towels, can you imagine how much space that would require?
I can actually.
That would be, it's quite a lot. And
It is.
while some people have the storage space for that, I certainly don't. My house is less than 1,000 square feet.
Well, yes, and that's another consideration as far as reusable items. Is conserving space.
Right.
I mean, and the example that you just used is a great example because my wife and I, we do have about right now we have about 10 months of storage of paper towels,
Right.
and they take up a lot of space. I mean, it's
Yes.
incredible.
That stuff is great if you have the room. It's just that not everybody has the room.
Yes.
A lot of people live in apartments.
Right.
In a small place in the city. I live in the country, but my house is tiny. And paper products aren't really something I can store in the barn because the mice will get into them.
And they'll love it.
Yeah, they will. Unless I want to go buy expensive plastic containers to put them in, which really for something like that, I don't want to spend the money on that. I just don't want to.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense.
No, not for that kind of thing. Not when I can just use towels. And if you think that it's going to be a long-term outage and you're going to have to get rid of all your waste, you can use your reusable towels, and you can just set something up almost like a diaper bucket that you use for cloth diapers with a little bit of bleach water in your kitchen, and just throw your dirties into, like your dirty kitchen towels, into that, and then you're going to be in great shape. It'll be easy to wash out by hand.
I wanted to get back to inflation because that's really the killer with what's going on right now. Bless you. As we were saying a moment ago, most people don't really think about it as far as these little pieces here and these little pieces there. 10 cents or 15 cents or 50 cents, or my soda can went from 12 ounces to 10 ounces, or my can of soup went from 16 ounces to 14 ounces. They don't really calculate that, and it doesn't really sting as much, but it really does at the end of the year. And as far as if I wanted to get into, say, canning or preserving meats or that type of a setup, what kind of initial cost would I be looking at as far as like for canning, for example? And what would I need in order to get started on that?
Well, to can meat, you have to have a pressure canner. You cannot water bath can it. Lots of people like to give my grandmother did that for 100 years and she lived to be 99. That doesn't even matter. Don't do it. It's not worth the risk because there is a risk of botulism. Just because you do something and live to tell the tale doesn't mean that it was a good decision to do that. I've done all sorts of things that I really wouldn't care to repeat. Like, I fell down a mountain once hiking. I lived, but I don't want to do it again. It's a risky behavior. So absolutely do not take the risk of canning it improperly. So you're going to need a pressure canner. The least expensive but good quality pressure canner you can get is a Presto. And those are about $70 to $75. And you can get those on Amazon. You can get them at Walmart. Actually, it's about $5 cheaper at Walmart. A lot of times you can find jars at a thrift store or a yard sale. I just picked up 5 dozen jars for about $25.
Wow.
From a lady that was just cleaning out her basement and didn't want them anymore. You're going to need lids. Lids are pretty inexpensive. You can get a pack of a dozen for about $2, sometimes less. Do not scrimp and try to reuse the lids. That is not safe. You may not get a good seal. I recommend name brand lids and jars, to be quite honest. If you're pressure canning, spend the extra money and get Ball or Kerr or one of the higher quality brands of jars. Other jars will break under pressure. The cheap ones that you can get at Walmart, you can use those for water bath canning without too much issue. But when you put those in the pressure canner, they'll break, the rings won't hold the lids on, and the lids will blow off in the canner. And I mean, it's not dangerous, it's just messy and wasteful because you've wasted your food. So, you can get going for about $100 to $150.
What would you say that on the initial investment, and we'll use 125, we'll split the difference.
Yeah.
So I go out and I spend $125. I've got my canner, I got my jars, I got, the meat that I'm going to do or the vegetables that I'm going to preserve.
Yep.
I mean, say I do that for 6 months. I mean, that's obviously going to save me
It's going to save you a lot if you buy your meat at a good price. Like I usually buy, like I just bought half a pig and I'm going to buy a quarter cow. I usually buy my meat in really, really big quantities. And it kind of scares me to just rely on the freezer, because if the freezer goes out, if the electricity goes out, I've only got a few days before all of that food will be wasted. So when you pressure can it, it becomes shelf stable. And that way you're not going to be affected by power outages. Another great bonus from a prepping point of view is the food is fully cooked and you don't even have to heat it up. You can just pop the jar and eat it that way. Obviously it's a little nicer to have a hot meal, but if you don't have a secondary cooking method, you can just, like I said, you can just eat it right out of the jar and you're going to have a nice meal.
And that's meats and vegetables, right?
That's right. That's right. It's all fully cooked once it's been canned.
So that's obviously a way. I mean, I don't think that most people are going to be able to go out and get a half a pig or a quarter of a cow or that type of thing, but you can get.
It's actually
wait for the sales.
It's actually not as outrageously expensive as it sounds.
Well, I'm looking more at prep, all the prep work. Bringing a quarter of a cow or half a pig into an apartment, probably not going to go over so well with the neighbors. And what do you?
Oh, well, see, no. When at least the law here, I know it's different in different places. You can't buy it directly from the farmer. The farmer has to take it to the butcher. The butcher then packages the meat up, like they might grind some of it, they might turn some of it into ham or bacon, and then they package it however you tell them to package it.
Oh, okay. Well,
so,
now that changes everything.
Exactly. So I spent about $200, and it was a small pig. It was an American guinea hog, and they tend to be smaller. But I spent about $200, had everything packed in sizes that worked for my family. I don't have a huge family. So, my packages might be smaller than someone who has a family of 8. And I just basically brought it home, dumped it into the deep freeze, and that was it. So it's actually really reasonable. If you can find a place to get it, it can be very reasonable. I paid less than $4 a pound, and that's for everything. That's for
Wow.
ham, bacon, sausage, high quality pork chops, pork loin roasts, you name it. I paid less than $4 a pound for it.
That's incredible. See,
It is.
I
When
mean,
you compare it to grocery store prices,
yes,
plus it's healthier
yes,
because, I know how these animals were raised. I know that they were given lots and lots of farmer market scraps. That's how the lady I buy from feeds her pigs. She goes and buys the things from the farmer's market at the end of the day, and they give her a great deal on the stuff that's a little bit squishy that isn't really great for humans, and then she takes them home and feeds them to her pigs. So, I know they weren't shot up with antibiotics and fed GMOs, and, the things that a lot of people are trying to avoid, we're able to avoid at a fraction of the price. So it's a lot more reasonable than it sounds.
so you get a higher quality product at a better price, and excuse me, and you get an overall better product that,
Yes,
and seeing all of these things tie into the overall theme of our conversation, Daisy. Food is wealth preservation,
that's right.
because if you're getting a better product that goes into your body, then your health is going to go up. Your health is going to be better, which means that your medical costs are going to be down, which means that all of these other things that affect our life are not going to be impacted in a negative way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It couldn't be better. It's great all the way around. And if you don't live in a place where this is an option, you can still do really well with bulk purchases. And I don't want this to sound like you have to be best friends with a farmer to stock up on food. You can watch the sales and you can buy the meat at the grocery store, but when you buy it, at everything goes when you're shopping, it goes in cycles. Certain things are on sale at certain times of the year. So, for example, Thanksgiving and Christmas, everybody puts a turkey on sale because they're trying to get people to come in so that they can buy their turkey, but then they're going to sell them all the other expensive stuff to go with the turkey. So they
Exactly.
make their turkey a loss leader. But if you go in and you don't succumb to the advertising for all of the other things, and you buy yourself 6 turkeys at less than $1 a pound, and you plop those bad boys in your freezer, the rest of the year you would pay $5 or $6 a pound for that turkey.
Yes.
So you're saving $4 a pound for meat by buying it in bulk at the lowest possible price. And if you do that with everything, you can save thousands of dollars over the course of a year. You're basically, it is an investment
Yes.
because you are buying at today's prices and eating this stuff tomorrow when the price goes up.
Exactly. And that's my whole point of the wealth preservation, because inflation is raging right now. I don't care what they say on TV or whatever. I mean, if you have two brain cells that function properly, you know that inflation is completely out of control. It
That's
is. I
that's right.
mean, and the prime example that I use right now, the one that I'm using right now, is health cost, health insurance. My health insurance, I just got a notice from my private insurance carrier that on January 1st, my insurance is going up 42%.
Oh,
The deductible is going up 12%.
so more money for less product.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's
And
insane.
it's
Well,
ridiculous.
it really is. And, I'm self employed. We don't have insurance. We can't afford insurance. We can't afford Obamacare. Not that I want Obamacare, but even if I wanted it, I would not be able to pay my rent if I had it because for a family of 2 people, it was over $700 a month. I am better off to put that $700 aside and be as healthy as possible.
Right. And see, and that's the whole thing with food. I mean, if you spend any time on your site, or if you've read any of Daisy's books, then you know the health benefits of a better diet. And naturalnews.com, they've been doing just a marvelous job of pointing out. They have all these articles every day about how this food, as part of your diet, affects these parts of your life to make it
Right.
better. What else would you like to share with us there, Miss Daisy?
Oh, well, gosh. um, just we recently started a once a month shopping challenge
Yes, thank you.
because when we moved last summer, we ended up hitting the grocery store constantly because every time we leave the house, we go past this really awesome store that is like a less expensive version of Whole Foods with high quality stuff, not a whole lot of the standard grocery store fare. They have a little bit of Nabisco and that type of thing, but a great deal of it is just high quality food. So we would go in there and be lured into all sorts of impulse buys. And our grocery bill was absolutely out of control. I was spending so much money, and I'm usually pretty thrifty. So I decided, most of my money comes in once a month. So I decided what I needed to do was shop on the same schedule that I get paid on. So we decided to do a once a month shopping challenge. So we have to do, basically three different types of shopping when we do this. We have groceries, we have the feed store, because we've got livestock now, and we have just the odds and ends, like you might need to go to the hardware store or Walmart or something like that. So we decided to just do all of our shopping once a month. And it has been an amazing difference in the prices. We have far more food now than we ever had previously. I'm not even going to need a shopping trip next month
Wow.
because my cupboards and my freezers are absolutely full. And we cut our grocery bill in less than half doing
Wow.
this. Yeah.
See,
Yeah, those little impulse buys sure do add up.
that they do. That they do. My
And
wife and I, we started a program like that about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, actually. And we changed from going to the grocery store on a weekly basis to going on a monthly basis. And it's now up to we go to the grocery about every 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So we have our cash flow is a lot better. Are you finding that as well?
oh,
That your
definitely,
cash flow
definitely.
is just incredible. The impact that it has is, and it's instant. It's instant.
Yes, and I had like the end of every month was always so rough while I was waiting for the next month to come in, and now it's no hassle at all.
Yes. Well,
It's
see,
it's just very peaceful.
yeah, I'm self-employed as well, and I'm pretty similar pay system that you are. You know,
Right.
but I get paid once a month, and I get a couple of smaller things throughout the month, but they really are inconsequential.
Hmm.
And that's what that's the same cycle that my wife and I have gotten on. Is that when I get paid, then we do X, Y, and Z, and that's it. We don't do it any other time of the month. That's when we go. That's when we do the. That's when we go to the grocery store if we need to go. That's when we go, like you said, go to the hardware store and we do all these things. And I'm in a much different setting than you are, Daisy. I'm 5 minutes from downtown,
Right.
so I'm not in a rural setting such as yourself. So I've got all of these, all of the conveniences. I mean, I've got three grocery stores within 5 minutes of my house.
Yeah, it's about, aside from the one that's fairly nearby, um, actually, it's still 20 minutes away. I would say the closest grocery store is 20 minutes away.
But
And yeah, so it is a jaunt if we decide to go to the store.
and seeing once again, I mean, in your situation, which is going to be a little bit different than the bulk of the people that are listening to this, because about 70% of the audience is going to be in an urban setting closer to where I'm at
Right.
than to where you're at, and it's so you've got all of these things that are literally at your fingertips, and you just have to drive by them and just go, I'm not doing that right now. And
Yes.
once you build in that, if you take Daisy's once a month shopping challenge, the discipline that it will teach you automatically will blow your mind, and that will start bleeding into other aspects of your life. Have you found that to be the case as well,
Oh,
Daisy?
absolutely. It forces you to be a little bit more creative. Obviously, if there was
Yes.
an absolute necessity, of course, I would break the once a month shopping rule and I would go get something that was
Yes.
a necessity. But, my daughter has horrible cold right now. And we didn't have to go get anything. We had absolutely everything we needed, all of the comfort items. We made soup and we have frozen fruit for popsicles. And, we had everything on hand that we needed to take care of this. We had Kleenexes and, all of the different essential oils to make like a vapor rub and everything we needed. And when you have everything you need on hand, you can translate that into other types of disaster preparedness.
Yep.
So if this had happened, at a time that we couldn't go to the store, we'd be perfectly fine. And that's the goal, to be perfectly fine when you can't make it to the store.
That's it. I mean, because tomorrow may not look like today, and if it doesn't, then how are you going to react to that?
Exactly.
And that's one of the key things to being prepared. It's not really. I've never, and I've said this every time that you and I've spoken, and every time that I speak with someone regarding this subject. It's not about the world coming to an end or people dying. It's about your life happening.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to, is that life happens and things change.
Right. Every crisis is not an epic natural disaster like the movie San Andreas. There are lots of little personal disasters like job loss
Yep.
or, medical bills like we were just talking about.
Yep.
Most people would be wiped out by a huge medical bill. I know I certainly would be. If it was something, if there was a catastrophic illness, even people with insurance would be affected. So those of us who are not insured would really be in trouble.
In seriously deep financial trouble that becomes almost impossible to get out of.
There is no way out of it.
And that's by design, but
Of
that
course.
that's a story for another day.
Yes.
But for those of you out there listening, in all honesty, take a look at the article that Daisy published back on October the 8th. It's called "Join the Once a Month Shopping Challenge," and I guarantee you, if you follow what she says and do incorporate these principles into your life, it will make a huge difference in your cash flow and in what is actually happening with your food and your health, and just so many different aspects of your life will be affected by this, that it'll blow your mind. It will literally blow your mind.
You'll be
So,
astounded at how much better prepared you are.
yes, and the only thing that's happened is an improvement. It's not a crimp in your lifestyle. It doesn't impact you in a negative way, in any sort of way at all. And all of a sudden, everything starts changing all around you, and just like what you were describing, Daisy, I don't need to go to get X, Y, and Z for my sick child or for this situation that just happened, because it's already here.
Right. Right. And, you can, if there is some tremendous sale that you're just not going to be able to beat all year long, by all means, don't feel obligated to stick to this arbitrary, I can only go shopping once a month. Because, the key to this is learning to shop more wisely.
Exactly.
And so, for example, like the turkeys that I was talking about, if you see a huge sale on those and they're 65 cents a pound, go get you half a dozen of them because you're not going to beat that. And it would be ridiculous just in the name of doing this challenge to pass up on a deal like that.
Right. I mean,
However, when you do go pick that up, don't buy everything else that you see. Don't be sucked into all of the other fun little displays.
just leave the cranberry sauce on the shelf.
That's right. That's right. You should already have your cranberries in your freezer.
Oh my goodness. Well, we've been speaking with Miss Daisy Luther. She is the Organic Prepper, and you can find all of her great work at theorganicprepper.ca, along with all of her books, and she's got an extensive library, including the Prepper's Water Survival Guide that was published back in May, along with two versions of the Pantry Primer, which is great.
The
And
first one's out of print now. The
first one
second,
is out of print.
yeah, there's a second edition. So
Okay.
it's just a new and improved version of the first edition.
Okay, so the Pantry Primer or Prepper's Guide to Whole Food on a Half Price Budget, that
Yes.
replaced the original.
Yes, it did.
Okay, and the Organic Canner, which is a fantastic book to have that will help you through what we've been discussing right here. It will lay everything out for you. All you got to do is follow the directions. So, right?
Right. And thank you so much for having me here.
Well, Daisy, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. I just love it, and we need to do it more often. And
Definitely.
um, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, and we will speak with you soon.
Okay. You have a great day, Rory. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.